Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. We have a more intimate crew today, which is exciting. And that will allow us to have this be more of a conversation, hopefully. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi.
Christina. Allison, hello. I love your background.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm moving around for a minute. I'll be with you in a sec.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Hi, Christina. How are you today? Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be sharing our impact report for 2023 and 2024. The intention for this conversation or our time together today is to look at past, present, and future. I see some people still coming in. Hello, Ella. Welcome. Perfect timing. So as I was saying, I'm going to walk us through the impact report a little bit to share where we come from, where we're at now, and where we're headed. Please feel free to chime in at any point with any thoughts, questions, ideas, reflections. Again, this is a time where we really want to encourage open conversations and invite you into our internal small and mighty team that's working behind the curtains. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, not that screen. Can you see the impact report now? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, let me try again. So you can tell I am not a tech savvy person,
You're not alone.
but hopefully that's not. Okay, let's see. This is my calendar again, isn't it? Okay, let's try it one more time. There we go.
Excellent.
It now? Amazing. And again, our impact report is available on our website and social media. So the intention is to talk through it. And then if you want to dive into the details of it, you can download it and take your time and read it. But because we do have a lot to get through, I'm going to keep it pretty high level. And again, the intention is less to go through the report in itself. As I said, you can find that and download it and read it, but more bringing you into some of the thinking behind this report and how we view impact, where we make decisions from, and how are we connecting the dots that we receive from all of our partners, whether that is farmers on the ground, organizations, mission-driven businesses, etc. Okay, so this report covers part of 2023 and 2024. It's a very extensive report. 2023 was the year of ecological succession. So in 2023, we saw the transition from the foundational farmers footprint team that began the work and the team that is here now to continue that legacy. Then in 2024, we were able to integrate a lot of the, see people still coming in. Hi, Sarah, we're just getting started. So welcome, and please chime in, pause me at any point. As I was saying, 2024 was the year where we could really integrate a lot of the learnings that we gathered from the previous years and take a step back to remove a lot of the initiatives or compost a lot of the initiatives that we were working on to pivot and readjust. That's something that we embrace a lot in Farmers Footprint. We know that we are not the experts, yet we are deeply listening and surrounded by people who have dedicated and continue to dedicate their lives to regenerating and reconnecting their communities. So we are constantly adjusting and pivoting our programming so that it can be in best service to what is needed in each moment. So we really embody emergence in our strategy and in the way that we approach our impact work. To build on that, these are the pillars of our work that, well, this is more our guiding ethos. So we view regeneration as a journey, and it's really important for us to meet people where they're at. So progress over perfection. We don't view regenerative agriculture as a destination that a farmer or a business arrives at and is all set and good to go, but rather an ongoing regenerating process. And again, we embody this as an organization as well in the way that we develop and view our strategy and our work. We are relationship bridge builders. So it is really important for us that we're able to connect individuals and organizations that are dedicated to this movement and work. There is so much incredible work happening aligned with regeneration all over the world, and so much of this work is happening in a silo. So a big part of our role as Farmers Footprint is to connect some of the work that is happening to reduce redundancy. And yeah, you never know exactly what you need might be right around the corner from you. And that is part of the role that we play at Farmers Footprint through our storytelling and our community. We aim to foster a space where people can show up and share what they're working on, some of the challenges that they're facing, and hopefully connect with other individuals or organizations who might be facing similar challenges or might have the solution and be able to complement some of the work that is happening. Fostering hope is also a core piece of our guiding ethos. We acknowledge the situation, the reality of the situation that we are in now, and the very real challenges of that. And yet we are certain that that is one possibility alongside many other possibilities. And the reality of what we will create will be determined based on the actions that we take now. So part of our goals is to remind people that humanity is made up of humans, and bring back and through community resources, yeah, just remind ourselves that we have agency, that our actions have an impact. And historically, too, it has been smaller groups of people working together to create a different reality that has been proven to drive change. And last but not least, rematriation of knowledge. So we see regenerative agriculture as a modern iteration that stems from indigenous worldviews and paradigms. So it is really important for us not just to continue elevating the importance of regenerative agriculture and regenerative principles, but connecting the dots to its origin, and how that stems from ancestral traditions and indigenous paradigms. This slide that I'm showing here, some of you might have seen it already, but this was one of the biggest or most significant reorganizations of our work that we did in 2024. So for the past years, we had been, again, and we continue to deeply listening, but we were exploring which areas of the food system needed the most attention. And we came up with this three pillar framework that's all anchored back in community, but as a way to better organize our work and our communications to support the different areas of our food and agriculture and health systems, and how they overlap, how they connect with each other, and from our perspective, how we're uniquely positioned to connect the regenerative agriculture movement in a way that is diverse and inclusive. So for this, we landed on 3 pillars, and I am going to go more into detail for each of this in a few slides. So I'm not gonna go into it now, but just for context, this is how we're currently organizing our work through health, agriculture, culture, and it all comes back to community. Our global ecosystem. So Farmers Footprint was founded in 19 as a US organization. And in the past few years, we've been able to expand to have more regional impact in other areas around the world. The founding team is, originated in the US and has now become a global team. This is our current team. We have some team members here today. I am Alana. Melanie is also joining us today. Sophie as well, and I believe Briar Rose is somewhere in there as well. And part of the team is based in the US. I am based in Mexico. Briar Rose is based in New Zealand. And yeah, we're sprinkled across the globe. Farmers Footprint Australia too is a team that we work very closely with. We are, if you joined the previous collective impact call, one of the main campaigns that we're working on with Farmers Footprint Australia is the glyphosate campaign. So with this international collaborations, we are weaving together global narratives in a way that can inspire and catalyze regional change so that we can keep a pulse and continue to be informed by the challenges that are being faced at a ground level so that we can raise that to the global narratives and keep those connecting threads between the global and the local ways in which our work is expressed. Farmers Footprint New Zealand is also a regional partner of Farmers Footprint. New Zealand, in the context of our global food system, sits in a very unique space, and is really leading the way in regenerative agriculture in many ways, because they haven't, or they didn't, and hopefully won't transition into the industrial agriculture system that is predominant in other areas of the world. So especially the food system of New Zealand is especially relevant in a global scale, because we really can learn a lot from the way that they are currently managing a lot of their land. So that's been a really interesting international activation. And also having Briar Rose on the team, who's based in New Zealand, has continued to inform our work in ways that we wouldn't have been able to had we just stayed being a US-based nonprofit organization. So by continuing to collaborate with international partners, we are able to diversify the perspectives that inform our work and also the local realities. Introducing Project Biome. So if you've followed our work, you might have noticed that Farmers Footprint is part of a larger organization, which is Project Biome. And just like Farmers Footprint's focus is speaking to the individuals and highlighting the work that is happening on the ground. Project Biome is focused on connecting organizations to other organizations with a similar intention to reduce redundancy in the work that is happening, to regenerate, rewild, and reconnect organizations that are doing grassroots on the ground work. They are a fairly new organization in this way. They have been, Farmers Footprint was the first program of Project Biome, but more recently in the past year or so, they've began not only supporting and collaborating with Farmers Footprint, but also with hundreds of other organizations around the world, and especially in Africa. They are currently in the process of launching their website. So stay tuned to follow along some of the really incredible work that Project Biome is connecting and supporting around the world with grassroots organizations. They have some incredible projects that I'll just mention them briefly because I don't think they're included in this report, but they include planting trees as a way to support food security in small communities. They also have a youth fellowship program that's really focused on empowering youth and youth leadership, as well as other resources for organizations on the ground. And I'm going to try and keep a close eye on time because I could talk about this a lot, and I really want to make sure that we have some time for questions. So excuse me if it feels like I'm just kind of moving too fast. But again, you can download this report on our website. Take your time. Our team put a lot of thought and intention into how we show our impact. And you'll see a lot of testimonials, a lot of metrics. We try to balance both of those, as we know that true change doesn't, well, a lot of the times true change and capacity building education can't be measured through numbers. So we rely strongly on testimonials so that you and ourselves can listen from the people themselves how this way of working is supporting their initiatives and livelihoods as well. So our programming includes storytelling, immersive events and experiences, community activations. We also have a garden club. And Farmers Footprint has also acted as an incubator for regenerative offshoots that are focused on more specific areas where support was needed, and Farmers Footprint was able to incubate a group of people to take off and do more focused work on different areas. So we'll go a little bit into that as well. Storytelling. So the main shift in our storytelling this past year, and something that we're really excited to continue developing this year, is collaborating with local storytellers to share their own story. And the thinking behind this is so that we can diversify the perspectives and the lens in which these stories are told, so that we can ensure that they are grounded in the lived experience of these creatives and storytellers that are living and breathing the work firsthand. And Farmers Footprint be a partner to these storytellers so that we can amplify their work to reach more people, more communities, and more places. We see on these metrics that this is a growing movement. Part of our goals is to share this message and these stories of what is happening in different places around the world to as many people as possible. The platforms that we use or that we leverage to amplify these stories are Instagram, LinkedIn. We have our Mighty Networks community and our email list. Something that I thought was really interesting from this chart particularly is the LinkedIn growth. We know that Instagram tends to have a potentially younger demographic, mostly individuals. They might be following our work for more personal choices, but to see the growth of engagement on LinkedIn platforms really speaks to the way that businesses and organizations are resonating with this message, and that is really important to inform one of our most recent offerings that I'll get into, called Farm Yarns, in which we're connecting professionals, businesses, and thought leaders in this space to continue to expand our perspective on some very specific topics. Our media channels. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we have 3 channels now. The Ripple Effect channel is our agriculture channel, and this is mostly focused on highlighting farmers specifically and supply chains, national and international. This this was first. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, my dog just moved in with me, and she's still getting used to seeing people on the street. Yes, come here. Okay. Well, some of you might be familiar with our Meet a Farmer series that continues. And the intention here is to connect farmers with other farmers and consumers with the farmers that are growing our food. We can I love this testimonial from Kelsey Scott in particular, where she highlights how much we can learn from indigenous systems and the way that those can inform our resilience and the genetic potential of the land, and the way that human interaction with the land can enhance this genetic potential in very natural ways that have been practiced and proven successful for thousands of years. This is another farmer that we featured, Joe Frey from Western State Hemp Farms. And his partner, Adrian, joined one of our Farm Yarns conversations. Hemp in particular was very relevant to some of the conversations that we hosted, not just as the product itself, but also the role that it can serve to help clean land that has been contaminated with pesticides before. And they saw some incredible results in their farm in using hemp to accelerate the detoxification of land. So if you haven't seen their feature, go check it out. Then we also hear from Tia Rayford at Gilliard Farms. Their story is also incredible. So they are actually farming on land that Matthew, who's Tia's partner, so Matthew's great grandparents were enslaved in this farm that they now get to steward and regenerate. And they have really powerful stories about how in healing the land, they have also healed themselves and their lineage. Matthew is also an incredible chef, and they have a lot of different offerings at their farm that include some value-added products, food experiences, wellness, retreats. They have done some incredible work and really highlighted this intersection of human and planetary health, as well as the agricultural practices that they are practicing in this farm. Now, this was one of our newer series that we launched towards the end of last year, Beyond the Harvest. And the intention for this series is to take a few steps back and take a look at the supply chain, or as I like to call it, the supply web, and what is needed to connect produce to consumers, and how a lot of the times it is mission-driven brands, some of which are vertically integrated and working really closely with the people who are growing these products, farmers, in and really integrating them into their business model and supply chain. So highlighting how whether you are a farmer, a business, or a consumer that is having the opportunity to choose where we put our dollars, and the ripple effects that that creates. Our first feature was with Artisan Tropic and highlighting their regenerative supply chain in Colombia. And here you will see Juan and Oscar together. So they have really close relationships with the communities and the farms that they are sourcing from. And we were able to hear firsthand from these farmers the way in which being connected to a US customer base has become a vehicle to reinvest resources into these international communities who might otherwise have a hard time reaching consumers that have the purchasing power to buy directly from them or source directly from them. So it's also sharing a different perspective in the ways in which international supply chains don't have to be extractive, and they could actually play a huge role in redistributing resources between the North and the global South and beyond. So more recently, it's not included in this report because it was earlier this year, but we also launched a feature with Textile Exchange showing how regenerative supply chains in Brazil are serving a similar purpose through the textile and particularly cotton supply chains. Which takes us to our next channel, which is Health and Harmony. This is very relevant to the origins of Farmer's Footprint, and really emphasizing, as I was saying with Tia and Gilliard Farms, that intersection between human and planetary health, how we are not separate from the earth. When we heal the land, we are healing ourselves. When we heal ourselves, we also have the opportunity to heal the land. The first series that we launched is called Nurtured by Nature. And the first feature we launched was with a good friend of the Farmer's Footprint team and partner in this work, Kelly Ryerson. And some of you might know her as Glyphosate Girl. And in this feature, she shared her personal story about how she healed from autoimmune diseases through changing her diet, and that is really what got her into regenerative agriculture and fueled her advocacy efforts to so much of the incredible work that she's doing today. So just like the intention with the Meet a Farmer was for other farmers to be inspired by the journey of farmers who have transitioned from conventional to regenerative, and some of the challenges and opportunities that they discovered along the way. These series is aimed to inspire other people who might be on their healing journey from chronic disease and autoimmune disease, cancer, hormonal regulation, obesity, you name it, and see how there are so many more options that sometimes are not super clear or known with the traditional or institutional, I must say, medical system that we are part of, and how there are so many different options and possibilities that are more in the realms of holistic health and emphasizing the importance of diet and where our food comes from so that we can heal ourselves too. In this series, we will explore topics like nutrient density, and I am going to pass it to Mel because she is particularly connected to this series.
Sorry,
Okay.
Alana, didn't mean to mess up your flow. You were just getting into it. I just wanted to say for a second, as Alana mentioned, I'm the director of operations with Farmers Footprint. It's great to meet you guys. I'm usually very behind the scenes, but I'm personally very inspired and excited about the Health and Harmony channel. I'm sorry, my puppy is also playing in our mini pool. So if you hear him in the backyard, it's a 16-year-old, 16-week German Shepherd. But anyways, I'm particularly inspired by the Health and Harmony channel coming from the healthcare industry. And I wanted to add that through this channel, one of our intentions for the future is to provide very like tangible, concrete resources that can be used. So, for example, my partner is a trainer and he works with people all the time that are hoping to better understand like what is nutrient density, like what is the gut axis, like how does our food impact those things. And so one of our intentions and kind of this call is taking a look into the past and how we got here and then take a sneak peek into the future. And the Health and Harmony channel has the potential for us, and we're hoping and collaborating with physicians and practitioners to provide very concrete data for what is nutrient density, why what is macronutrients, what is micronutrients, why should you care about this, what is its impact on disease development, and then ultimately bringing it back to how is regenerative agriculture and how we produce our food linked to these outcomes. We just often hear that people know this information or they may know a little bit about this information, but they want to share with their friend, they want to share it with their mother, their daughter, their grandmother, their neighbor, anyone really. And so we're hoping to produce this year very like tangible resources that you can share or use yourself as a way to move throughout the space that can be very confusing. There's a lot of information, especially health information, certification information, to really clarify some of that, working directly with practitioners so that it's science backed information and making it be something that you could tangibly share with your community. So just kind of wanted to spotlight that as something that we're hoping to work on this year in 2025, as something that I'm just personally really stoked about. And I thought y'all might be too. Thanks, Alana, for letting me jump in for a second. Back to your regular scheduled programming.
Please do. Thank you, Mel. Yes, as Mel shared, we are partnering with different health practitioners and scientists, white papers, or leveraging white papers, highlighting white papers, and repackaging that information in a way that is very accessible and digestible for as much people as possible. And then our last channel is Nana, which is focused on the culture in agriculture. So as I said in the beginning of this call, we see regenerative agriculture as a modern iteration of indigenous food systems and indigenous ways of being in relationship with the place that we live in, with our food, with ourselves, with our community. So the intention for Nana is to invite everyone to remember where we come from, no matter where you are, no matter where you live. If you go back enough in your lineage, you too will be able to learn what your ancestors ate, what were their traditions, what were their rituals, and how they hold key information that we can consider in how we want to move forward. So this channel, you might have seen some of it. We have started to share in social media, but it's officially launching in May. And some of the things that we will include on this channel are topics like ancestral foods, conversations with elders from different indigenous cultures around the world, stories of people and place too. These channels, Allison, are hosted on our website. So again, because this is very recent, we are now they're starting to be reflected on our website. Nana will be reflected in, well, will be launching in May on our website, but you can now see Health and Harmony and the Ripple Effect are up there. And soon you will see this. This is, I feel particularly connected to this channel because that's how I got into regenerative agriculture, through how my grandma related to food and how she shopped seasonally at the market and how she made broths to feed me and my family, and have also gotten to hear from other community members and friends in their traditional and ancestral relationship with food, and how the culture of food plays a key role too in not just what we think we have to do to become aligned with regenerative principles, but it's a remembering of our being state and our way of being in relationship with place, people, and culture. So we will touch on topics like identity, where we come from, and everyone has a seat at the table. So that is very important for us too. How we aim for Nana to be an invitation for all of us to remember that we are indigenous to the earth. We are all of the earth. And moving on, some of the immersive events and experiences that we hosted last year and the year before that. This was a really powerful event with Zach, Gail Fuller, and Alex Woodard. Gail Fuller is a farmer partner, a dear friend of Farmer's Footprint. You can check out his Meet a Farmer feature on our website. He is a huge advocate for farmer mental health. And sneak peek, we are launching a farmer mental health fund in May, in which we aim to raise awareness about farmer mental health and also offer scholarships for farmers so that they can enroll in different programs to support their mental health. This conversation with Zach and Gail, which Alex hosted, and it was also the launch of his book called Ordinary Soil. It really connects the parallels that health practitioners and farmers face by being immersed in this broken system that doesn't support life, that doesn't support their well-being or the well-being of the communities that they're serving. And this was not your traditional panel with a PowerPoint presentation. It was an immersive experience that enabled us to create a intimate container, a safe container where we could listen from Zach and from Gail. What was their experience like being in this industrial extractive systems that were not focused on enhancing life, but rather on killing disease, and the impact that that had in their life, in their mental health, in the role that they thought they served, where they sat. And luckily enough, they were both able to move through that thanks to community and hope, and just realizing that there were other options as well. So this was the first activation of that, and we're really honored to continue to partner with people like Gail who are being a voice to farmers and farmer mental health. Another digital event that we had on 2023, Giving Tuesday, we hosted a full day of webinars and conversations touching on different aspects that intersect with regeneration and regenerative agriculture. All of this is still accessible and relevant today. We had some incredible speakers and conversations. So if you are curious or inspired by a topic in particular, go check it out. Maybe Mel or Sophie can share the link to those on the chat in case folks are inspired to go back. And then at the end of last year, we hosted a culture and agriculture event. The setting for this was really like an immersive museum in which we weren't talking about culture from an outside perspective, but really inviting everyone who attended to be immersed in culture, in different cultures. So we had music, we had photography, we had traditional food, and towards the end of the event, there was a dialogue between Mia and Zach that you see in this photo. Chef Oliver English was also part of this conversation. And again, similarly to all of the conversations that we host at Farmers Footprint, they're intimate, they're vulnerable, and they are curious. They're curious conversations in which we aim to connect topics that might seemingly be separate, such as science and spirituality. And through the dialogue, through the weaving that takes place, really shed light on how these bridges are more important now than ever. And we will be launching the recording of this dialogue as we launch the Nana channel in May. So it's not out yet, but it was a very profound and powerful conversation in which Mia reminded us that we are all of this earth. We all belong here, and it is our responsibility to care for one another. And then Zach connected that to more of the scientific approach in how some of those decisions impact our health, impact our system, like quite physically. So I won't go too into that because it's not out yet, but really excited about that one. And community, I see that. Okay, I'm gonna try and go a little quicker so that we have time for Q&A. Our community encompasses our Mighty Networks digital community, and also our partners, our social media, and we continue to expand that with other organizations that we partner with that are based in different places around the world, some individuals that are doing incredible work. And I will get into some specific examples of how we're doing that. So we can see here some testimonials from community members. This is specifically our Mighty Networks community. If you haven't been there, sign up, check it out. We constantly highlight different events. It's a place where you might be able to connect to someone who might be in your community or close to your community. There's a map feature in there, and people are constantly sharing about the projects they're working on, what they're farming. We have course offerings in there, and it's just basically a group of incredible individuals all over the world who are either just beginning to explore regenerative agriculture or have been deep in it for years, and can connect with each other, have conversations, etc. The Farm Yarns webinar type conversations is also one of my personal favorite and most, from my perspective, one of the most valuable offerings that we were able to put out in the world last year. Through these conversations, we aim to bring together different perspectives to explore and discuss specific topics. So last year we hosted 4 of these conversations on different topics: seed integrity, hemp awareness, holistic health, regenerative supply chains, and regenerative agriculture. And all of these have been super interesting conversations in which we're able to not only hear from, but also ask questions and share with people who have dedicated their lives to this work and are considered experts in their field, to help us expand our perspective on topics that might be controversial, or new. It requires a lot of creativity and innovation to create or to work in this space, to be part of a movement that is constantly changing and shifting, and what does it mean, what does it look like to remain in integrity to the values and principles of regeneration as we continue to explore what our business might look like, or which role does technology play in all of this. And through these conversations, we've been able to incorporate different perspectives from people who are very knowledgeable about these topics, and allow and invite our community to participate in these conversations. So since we started hosting the Farm Yarns events, we saw a 500% increase in attendance to the conversations that we were facilitating and hosting before. So that was a huge, that meant a lot to us, and like, okay, we're onto something here. People are finding value in this conversations. We are being of service through connecting and facilitating some of these. And I think this feels particularly relevant to the metric I was pointing to earlier in the slides on the increase in engagement that we're seeing from the LinkedIn community. But we host these conversations on Zoom, and we are actively exploring if we want to keep them there, if they might be better suited for other platforms so that more people can reach. But we're really focused on like niche topics and conversations for the farm yarns. These are some of the, as I said, incredible, really respected speakers that we've had the opportunity to invite into these conversations. So you'll see names like Nasha Winters. She's a health practitioner that we really respect and feel aligned with. Mary Purdy from the Nutrient Density Alliance. They published an incredible white paper a few months ago on nutrient density. Anthony Corsaro is a very respected voice in regenerative agriculture brands in particular, and the role of brands and supply chains in connecting consumers and farmers. Also farmers like Adrian Snow, Kate Kavanagh had some amazing perspectives on the role that animals play for producing regenerative meats. Also, Molly Engelhardt, who will be a speaker at one of our Earth Day activations next week. And just, yeah, really, really incredible people that we've had the opportunity to collaborate with for the farmyard conversations. The Garden Club is our 12 module gardening course, how to grow food in your backyard, basically. We had 421 new gardeners and heard firsthand from them how supported they felt being part of the Farmers Footprint Garden Club. We hosted a few different calls each month on answering specific questions, sharing homesteading tips and tricks. We had some seasonal cooking classes in there. And overall, just our intention is to show that you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to know everything about gardening to start planting something, whether it's in your backyard. I live in an apartment and are going to be exploring planting some pots soon for my kitchen. So yeah, we are actively developing the next iteration of the garden club. Go ahead, Mel, jump in.
I just wanted to jump in here and just kind of reiterate the garden club offering as a way for impact, especially given the current times we're in. Like, food is continuing to get expensive as we potentially have international tariffs, and it's really important for people to feel empowered and able to grow their own food and have that food sovereignty. So we're actively considering how we can expand this offering, reach more people, reduce barriers to entry, because we do really feel that in this time of unknowns, in this time of uncertainty that we're all experiencing globally, but particularly within the US, food sovereignty through growing food at home, even if it's just a couple plants, and being able to share that with your family, with your local community, is really a way for everyone to feel that sense of agency, that sense of security that people are lacking in these times. So just really want to underline the garden club as a way to really meet people where they're at and help feed the nation in a way that has really put a lot of that responsibility on farmers directly or the international supply chain. And through the garden club, we're hoping to kind of localize those food systems and give people that food sovereignty that they're craving these days. So just kind of wanted to jump in there and like really underscore that potential during these times.
Thank you for that, Mel. Yeah, that's a huge part of, I mean, not a huge part, but I think right now in this particular times, the fragility of our existing food system is being exposed. And through offerings like the Garden Club, we are able to highlight how localized food systems are so much more resilient to changes that might be going on a macro level that we have no or seemingly no influence over, and really bring the power back to ourselves and our food sovereignty, and make it more accessible to, like, in a time where regeneratively grown products can get so expensive because our food system is not currently designed for that. Growing your own food can be one of the best ways to have direct access to high quality nutrient dense foods and vegetables. These are some of we added this here because another perk of the garden club is that it's fun, it's beautiful, it's engaging, and it's cool. It's really cool. We're trying to make gardening cool again. um this was our incredible design team that you can tell was very inspired by microgreens and kombucha and chickens. These are some specific numbers and testimonials from our gardeners. So again, balancing the information with the inspiration to take action is something that is very important for us at Farmers Footprint. And to do that, community is essential. I will quickly touch on regenerative offshoots so that we can have some time for questions. The Nest was a project that was incubated through Farmers Footprint to create marketing materials and websites for farmers that has now become its own agency, because clearly there was so much demand for that, and they are actually now based in the UK, the team that is running it. But that was a program that we incubated and tested within Farmers Footprint for a few years, and has now become its own organization whose sole focus is to support farmers through branding, communications, and website design. And also Renourish Studio was the program also incubated through Farmers Footprint, whose role is to work with food business leaders and organizations, certifications, to incorporate living systems principles and regenerative principles into their business models, their supply chains. So it's a developmental community that brings together, yeah, leaders and people in leadership positions all across the food system. So from compost, farmer, producers, restaurants, impact investors, nonprofit organizations, etc., to come together and talk to each other and better understand the food web, a fuller photo of where each of these individuals and organizations are making change, and how they can be better partners to each other as they hold similar values and principles to expand their perspectives. Some of our partnerships. I know we're running a bit late on time, so I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Commune is where we hosted the Ordinary Soil event, and we've also had other events as well. We partnered with Lazy Acres in Southern California to design some educational materials and information on their stores, so that when people are deciding which food they're going to buy and why, they have more information to consider. What is the difference between one product and another? What is the impact of glyphosate? What is the role of soil health and how it relates to our microbiome and nutrient density, etc. We also partnered with Mikuna. That's a mission-driven business that's sourcing. They're a protein powder that has one ingredient, which is chocho, that they source from regenerative communities in Ecuador. So also another example of a regenerative supply chain that's redistributing wealth and reinvesting back into small communities to help them develop and expand their capacity to continue regenerating land and being more resilient, so that they're not put in a position where they need to do maybe migrate somewhere else or move to a different industry, but so that their regenerative agricultural practices continue to be a way in which they can support themselves and their community and the land in all at the same time. I'm gonna go quickly through. Well, regeneration allocation is a program that we launched to invite businesses who are committed to regenerative agriculture to donate a percentage of their proceeds to Farmers Footprint, so that we could continue to elevate farmers' stories and share more education with their consumers and our audience about the importance of regenerative food systems and the supply chain. This is a quote from one of our donors, Barb, who's very close to the Farmers Footprint team. And I wanted to add this here, not to read it with you all necessarily, but just to emphasize how important it is for us that we continue to have reciprocal relationships with our donors. Again, no matter if you are a farmer, a consumer, you work in whichever industry you may work in, we are full of resource, whether it's our energy, our expertise, our financial resource. So it's really important for us that we continue to create this open lines of communication, such as this call, to share with all of you, our supporters, who make our work possible, what we're working on, why we're doing it, and so that you can share with us what you think is important, what draws you to our work, where you feel connected to our work, and remind each other that we are also in community as we do this work. And that is it. Thank you all so much for just going through that with us. And I really want to open up the floor in case anybody has any thoughts, questions, reflections. Lucille, please take it away.
Yes. First of all, I wanted to start out by saying how grateful I am and impressed with all the work you're doing, especially all you young ladies who are working so hard. It's really empowering to see that we have young women who are educated and so able and so willing to work in such an incredibly important aspect of our global community, and as it trickles down to local efforts. And I just wanted to say that I'm especially impressed with the Garden Club. I'm a former cattle farmer myself and homesteader. And so this has been something important to me for many, many years, going back to the days of the original Mother Earth magazine. I don't know if any of you would be familiar with that, but we were kind of the outliers in those days, homesteading and growing our own. So it's really refreshing to see this rejuvenation of such an important philosophy and way of living. And also the spiritual connection is super, super important, and great to see that that is acknowledged. I've followed Zach Bush for many years, and I'm just so glad that he's been able to move the concepts forward that he has talked about for so long and brought so many of you into the movement, and it's impressive. I do hope that with this mental health farmers' mental health, that I trust that this is not going to be any psych-based kind of situation, and that it's more alternative and holistic. So my questions are two-part. My question is two-part. First, I wondered, is Farmers Footprint actively seeking communication with the new Secretary of HHS, RFK Jr. in the United States, and also the new Secretary of USDA, Brooke Rollins? Um, and the second part of my question is, how do you expect that the new U.S. tariffs will affect the international regenerative supply chains?
Thank you, Lucille. First, I just want to thank you for sharing your words and appreciation of our work. Sometimes it feels like we're just so in it that it takes a moment to just pause and take a step back and listen to people like you about how it's being received. So thank you. That continues to fuel our commitment and energy and momentum as well. And now to touch on some of your questions, we directly are not engaging with any government or policy offices. However, our partners are. So we are partnered with initiatives like Regenerate America, Kelly Ryerson, and organizations that are more focused on the policy work. And a lot of the time, the role that we play as Farmers Footprint is educating consumers how those changes impact them. So why do I need to care about the farm bill if I'm not a farmer? And how does that impact me and the food that I will or will not have access to? Why is it important that we have the opportunity to choose foods that are pesticide free and lower the barrier to access? So the role that we play as Farmers Footprint is amplifying the work that these organizations are doing and making that information digestible and accessible to everybody and people who might not see themselves as agriculture people or people that are into farming or the food system and being like, actually, you should be because you're an eater. So this directly affects you and concerns you, and you need to be involved. So we also share on our emails and community petitions to mobilize our community to add their name and their signature to some of these policy efforts and initiatives, and support our partners on the ground that are doing that work. We've also partnered with organizations like Center for Food Safety, who are really focused on the legal parts of the work, and we help develop the communication strategy and campaign, such as the glyphosate campaign is a great example of that. We're not doing it directly with government offices, but we operate under the notion that awareness precedes change. And we focus a lot on that awareness building, on that education, communication, so that it can reach wider audiences. And then, yeah, Mel, I know you want to add something to that. Just before you jump in, I want to touch on the tariff question that you touched on, because that can feel overwhelming. And I also want to speak to how the huge opportunity that it represents, because we're going to have to create more localized food systems, and that there's a part about that could be really positive for the regenerative movement in that way, in how it's gonna pivot away from international supply chains and shed a light on more local food systems. However, for global regenerative supply chains, it's going to add a ton of pressure, and it's going to make it really hard for businesses that are sourcing regenerative ingredients from other parts of the world. So that's going to be especially challenging for those businesses. Mel, please.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you covered it beautifully, Alana. I really don't have much to add except for obviously I'm an American. I work in the food system. I'm witnessing what's happening in the world around us, as we all are. And I think something that I just continue to lean into in this moment of division, regardless of what side you're in, there is insane division. And one thing that I think really I keep coming back to is the food system is a way for us to come together. I truly do feel that it's a bipartisan issue. And I'm hopeful that through promoting ideas and like changes that will bring health to our planet, health to people, that's a bipartisan issue. And I genuinely hope and see that by focusing on food, those are the types of conversations that can bring unity. Whereas often when topics come up, it's very divisive. I've never had a divisive conversation about food, unless of course I'm talking to someone from like Monsanto or like from a conventional ad, but everyone I'm talking about is, regardless of where we fall on a political spectrum, when we're talking about our food and wanting to have food that brings health to our land, supports our farmers, is healthier for us, we're always able to find that middle ground. And it brings hope. It brings me true hope as someone who's also just navigating a really weird time. I don't know the right word to put on that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that. But yeah, I see your hands up. Go ahead and come off mute. Can you pronounce your name Sacra? I don't want to mispronounce it.
It's Sacra.
Sacra.
Yeah, yeah. Just very briefly, I've been an educator for my career, but my grandparents had a farm in southern Oklahoma, and I still own some of that property. And I know it's supposed to be to help help train and share regenerative. I fell in love. Well, I followed Zach Bush forever. And I fell in love with Sadhguru. I assume you guys know Sadhguru and Save Soil. And he went on his motorcycle, and then I got more and more interested and convinced that it had to be soil, that we had to build that foundation. And then I got into Elaine Ingram's soil food web information, which so then what I'm in the process of meeting a number of leaders in Oklahoma and ag teachers, and I'm thinking that this is going to be about a 5-year project of getting scholarships for ag teachers to work in education with their kids. I know farmers. My cousins are farmers, right? And I also know that if you want to engage a community, some of the ways to do it are to have your kids get engaged and start doing modeling in their playgrounds and fields and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering what are you guys doing along those lines?
I mean, first of all, congratulations. That sounds like an incredible and much needed project. I couldn't agree more that we've seen the role that children and youth have to inspire us, remind us of how important curiosity and play are. And I mean, we always talk about the world that we're going to leave for our children. And I don't think we often talk about the children that we're going to leave for our world too. So I love this intergenerational approach to your project and its focus on education. the first place that comes to mind for me would be the Farmers Footprint community, to see like if there are other people in Oklahoma, other people that could be interested in volunteering or supporting or getting involved in that way. Yeah, I'm not sure if you have like something in particular that you're.
Right now, I'm very involved. You know, who I'm working with and who I've been finding are the leaders. I worked in lower, classrooms, but also at the state level. And so I know, various age, I know education from many different angles. And right now I'm creating a database of regenerative farmers because they're the first place to start. And then we have more interest at the state level. They brought together an 87 year organization, and they focused on regenerative soil and farming this year. So, and then I know I'm finding the key people. That's who I'm going to work with. You cannot go try to convert. You got to, you got to start with the people who are partially already interested in. We have an organization called the Noble Foundation that is very much more progressive than our university, agriculture university, and also foundation, that sort of thing. So you guys probably should know about them. And so, and then of course the Kansas folks, I want to get in contact with Gail. I'm taking notes. I'm watching who do you know? And I've also downloaded your guide, which I really like a lot. It's very, very nicely put together. So yeah, this is a big project that I'm not rushing myself to try to finish, or, I'm a connector. And so that's my job, is actually to figure out who in the state needs to be connected to each other and what kind of support, that kind of thing.
You should another organization to put on your list to look into, because I know there's the like the youth element there. The Fearless Farmers. They're located I'm in Austin, Texas. I think they're more northwest of me, a little bit more in West Texas, but they're a nonprofit organization that we've done work with in the past, who is specializing in, it sounds very similar to what you're offering, like education. They do two things. They train educators to teach regenerative principles, and then they also teach children. So the whole purpose is very similar to what you're talking about. How can we teach these regenerative principles and practices? In my mind, those are two separate things, to the next generation. And so I know you're in Oklahoma, they're in Texas, similar region, Great Plains.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so
we do the same sort of things, I mean, Texas and Oklahoma are competitive, and then, it's
just lines. It's just lines.
It's imaginary lines.
Yeah. And then I do want to add that something, and we should stay in touch. So we didn't talk about it in the context of this camp presentation today, because there's just so much to cover. But we do have the intentions to produce storytelling that is specific for children's in mind. We're calling them like the Wildling series. It's something that we're working on later in 2025. We're still ideating around what the best way to do that is, but we've also identified we need to, like, our whole concept is awareness precedes change. It's the whole thesis of our work. And if you can bring that awareness into the next generation in their youth, and then have them raised with those principles, as you're saying, it's the key to it's the secret sauce.
And it's so close. I mean, kids, you watch kids, and by the time they're 10, they're ready, and they will be out in 8 years. What turnaround farmers, the average age of farmers is 61. And they are afraid of losing food and care for their families. That's not where you can really have tremendous impact over a shorter block of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
100%. So
yeah.
we should keep in touch because we're ideating around that. What is the best way? What are the stories to tell? What's the best format? So that's something that we're also considering. And if there's a way for us to produce and support making content that you could use and you and other organizations could use as a way to educate young new farmers, we're all for exploring it. So just
I'd
wanna,
be happy to talk with you, but like Oklahoma, like is agriculture, right? And so all the curriculum, my first thought, oh, you know, curriculum is, it's very challenging to write good curriculum and time consuming, and everybody thinks they could do it, but it's not easy at all. But Oklahoma has massive, well-developed curriculum for kids. I mean, there's so many better ideas than we ever have time for. But so how to figure out, you know, how to connect, how to find connection, and how to reward. I really think some small scholarships for the agriculture teachers is one way to get buy-in. And then the other thing in farming communities is they all show up for the local basketball, football, you know, all the athletic events. And basketball is in the middle of the winter, and we would do, I worked with NASA and space stuff too. We would do exhibits at halftime, and we would have the kids teaching. So, so there's just, you know, we can chat about how do you talk to these communities that are, the other thing is, you know, farmers are really wise people, and they have years and years of very common sense. I mean, they've had to make things work. And so how to support them to, or their kids to make these changes in their farm. So anyway, I don't want to take up your time. So just let me know who you are, and we'll chat about some possibilities. And you're in Texas. Is this Mel? You're in Texas?
yes, I am Mel. I'm putting my email in the chat. And I am in Austin, Texas.
Okay. I graduated from UT with a master's, and my husband got a PhD, and you know, I'm an Okie and he's a New Yorker, and we live in Oklahoma now. So
I graduated from Austin with from UT with a master's, and I am from Michigan. So I am also from
and
the
we just
north.
got some land in Minnesota to
Amazing. Look at that.
yeah.
My email's in the chat. Please feel free to shoot me one.
Okay.
That said, I personally do have to jump. I have another call. If there's any additional questions, Sophie and Alana may be able to pop, but we are about 20 minutes over and want to respect y'all's time as well. So please send me an email, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you, Sakra, and everyone else. Thank you so much for coming. Alana, do you have any words you want to close us out?
Just gratitude. Like, thank you so much for tuning in and for staying with us all the way to a little bit past the time. There's so much to share. There's so much to listen to. Sakra, even just in like listening to the work that you're doing, as we continue thinking of farm yarns and the conversations that we're hosting digitally, that might also be a really interesting way that we could collaborate with this topic in particular, you know, and the work that you're doing, the communities that you're bringing together. And it sounds like some like incredibly interesting and valuable conversations could come from that we would love to share with our community and host and just be of service however we can. So thank you for joining us, for sharing, for listening, and
Thanks
yeah,
for doing this. I'm so I'm like Lucille. I'm so excited to see you young people.
That means the world to us. Honestly, that like made my day, Lucille. Like we are often just doing this work, and the whole team, the Farmers Footprint team is all women, and we're so passionate about what we do, and we talk about it all the time. And it really means a lot, especially from older, wise women who carried the baton for the last several decades to be able to like be continuing that work, I mean, I'm getting chills. Like it genuinely does mean the world to me. So thank you so much.
Yay, Lucille.
Thanks,
you.
Lucy.
Speak soon. Stay tuned.
Everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.